to another episode of the Los Blancos podcast. Today we'll be talking about one topic and one topic only, and that's our new manager. And if you guys enjoy today's podcast, remember to like and subscribe for future podcasts, videos, memes, everything, alright? A lot more content's going to come up on the channel. It's the Euros. Let's go, okay? So, remember, like and subscribe. And I'm very sorry about today's episode being 1 day late. It's we've had some problems, and I'll try to make sure it doesn't happen again. So hope you enjoy the podcast. Let's get right into it. But before we proceed with the podcast, I want to let you know about this Instagram account, right? And it's a fantastic Instagram account for Real Madrid fans, just like me, just like you, alright? It's called Real Madrid Nation, and it posts daily updates from Real Madrid. Everything, transfers, rumours, everything, alright? You guys need to go and follow that page, alright, on Instagram. So I'll link that in the description below. And Real Madrid Nation. Fantastic. And let's get right into the podcast. So our new manager is, of course, Carlo Ancelotti, which I've made my thoughts clear about this, and I think it's a brilliant managerial appointment in terms of the fact that we had no other options, right? So let's run through the quick recap of what happened over the week. So Monday, rumours came out that it's either Conte or Pochettino that would be our manager, or Raul. On Tuesday, Conte and Pochettino ruled out Conte in terms of the players did not want him, and the board did not see eye to eye with him. And with Pochettino, Real Madrid don't like stepping on the toes of PSG, and therefore that's where it came to that. And in terms of Raul, he ruled himself out. So it came to be that there was no options, right? All the options that had originally reportedly been available had ruled themselves out of the job. So who could be our manager next? So rumours flying around, it could be Guti Hernandez. I haven't seen him be a manager. He's worked in the setup, but he has never realistically done well as a manager. At Almeria, it did not go very well, and he was sacked. So, I'm not sure with the Guti what would have happened. So there are rumours now flying about, this manager could be our manager, this manager. Ultimately, it came down to Carlo Ancelotti, and I think in terms of Florentino Perez, it's the easy way out, isn't it? Because it's a guy who's accepting a lower wage. He's obviously always going to accept the job, and if you sack him, he's not going to cause a lot of problems, is he? He's Carlo. He's beautiful. He's a beautiful manager, and he's not going to cause a lot of problems for you if you sack him. So it was the easy way out for Florentino, but ultimately I think it was the right way out. In terms of what he can bring, his management is fantastic, but tactically we never had that needle on him, because no one knows what his tactical style, and that's the thing. What Carlo brings is, he thinks, okay, I'm going to see what happens with you, and I'm going to see, I'm going to see what the players I have, and I'm going to pick upon that, right? And that's all fine. Well, but if you look past after the Real Madrid job, it's not great, is it? It's not particularly great what he done after that, because he went to Bayern, obviously had that famous spat with Iron Robin, which Robin said he would get more training intensity in his son's training sessions, which has always been a problem with Carlos, which is training intensity. And after that, we went to Napoli and always had that, and he had that civil war with the owner of Carlo. I can't remember his name. I think it's De Laurentiis or something like that. Which, I mean, he did well at Napoli. He came second, but at that point, both Milan clubs weren't at the top, so it wasn't really that much of a big deal. And in terms of the second season, well, less spoken on that, the better. And of course, he came to Everton. He came 12th and 10th, which it's not that good, is it? It's not amazing. In the second season, he had the Everton playing some amazing stuff, transformed Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Had times, but the second half of the season just mudded them. And realistically, they just mudded them. It was a bit inconsistent from Carlo and from the team. So I'm not very sure. After all hearing all that, I'm not sure, but I'm still with these type of managers. People write off Jose Mourinho. I haven't written him off yet, and I think it's the same with Carlo. You can't write him off yet. His last two jobs aren't at clubs where they necessarily win trophies or anything. So yeah, that's all fine and well. But then after that, I mean, Bayern really having a spat with Robin, one of the best players ever, in a Bayern shirt, that's not particularly good. And the squad it was a mutiny basically, and it wasn't very, in terms of management, it wasn't very good. And Napoli fighting over this, over a training session, going abroad for a training session, it's not great. And finishing 10th with such a talented Everton squad with James, Allen, Doucouré, DCL, Richarlison. It's a talented Everton squad. Should be fighting for Europe. I think they should have come like 8th or 7th after the season they had. But they finished 10th actually, so it's not particularly great in terms of his managerial showings. But he can transform a club. You can see that with what we did with us. The season before him with Jose, it wasn't great because of the fact that it all fell apart, and Jose had the third season syndrome like he always does, and he won La Decima, and of course he won Copa del Rey with that famous Bale goal. And then after that, the next season, it all fell apart. We should have won the treble, but Barca won the treble that season, so could have been better, but it could have been worse, his stint. So in terms of management, I think a lot of players could benefit from this. Gareth Bale being one of them. I think, if we can't get him out, might as well use him, right? Like, there's no point in freezing him out like Zidane did. There's no point, right? You might as well just try and get some use out of Bale, because that was where our problem was last year. On the wings, we can't get goals or assists. We needed those numbers from Bale that he produced at the end of the season, which was absolutely world-class numbers. 16 goals. You could have those 16 goals, and those can really help his performances. They weren't that good, but 16 goals. In the end, that could have been the difference in us winning the title or not. In other players, maybe you could see a benefit from, like, Rodrigo. I could see benefiting from this. In terms of, like, because I see it definitely. He does look a bit like a Di Maria, doesn't he? And Carlo's the one who really transformed Di Maria from a good player, but not a world-class player. And Carlo changed him into a world-class player. And if Rodrigo, he could ping a ball in really well, and he could shoot really well. So he is a bit like Di Maria, isn't he? And Carlo would work with that, I think. So Carlo wants to work with what we got. In terms of like, maybe if we could get some productivity out of Hazard, that would be really good as well. You know, he's not been very good in a Real Madrid show. He's been awful, and I've been one of the big critics for Hazard's stint around Madrid. I'm not very happy with this. You know, thinking about it, 1 year later, if we just got him 1 year later, then could have got him for free instead of paying 120 million. I mean, what was the rush there? Hazard wasn't going to leave. He was either going to leave next year or he's going to stay, or he's going to leave for a lower fee. We might as well have just waited a year, because 120 million, that just doesn't make sense, does it? For an old guy with 1 year left on his contract. So we got to get the best out of him now, because if we can, then that Hazard can be a new signing, right? Get the best out of Hazard. Boom. We've got a world-class player on our hands, right? But that's the problem. We need to get the best out of him. And Zidane couldn't do it. Let's see if Carlo can do it, you know. The former Chelsea manager. Could he? I think he came in after Carlo came in, so I don't think they've worked a bit before. But, you know, it could work. I could definitely see this working. We've got to do the best out of what we got, because in terms of transfers, it's made clear that we're not getting any new transfers unless we're getting Mbappe or Haaland, which is annoying, because I think we could have definitely done with Jules Koundé. But that's not happening then, is it? So, in terms of that and his squad, he's going to have to work with what he's got, and I think that's fine by him. I think that's something that was made clear to Conte, that's the reason why Conte didn't come, because why he wasn't negotiating, because he always needs transfers, doesn't he? He always needs transfers, and Conte without transfers is not going to happen ever. So that's all well and fine, right? And then in terms of Mbappe, he's obviously come here and absolutely revitalised the team. You know, we could play him on the wing, if Benzema's out or Benzema starts declining, we play him up front. So Mbappe seems like a perfect option for me. Haaland, less so. I don't think, unless we switch to a 2-striker formation, I don't think he'll work. But we'll see about that, yeah? So, that's the end of the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to follow Real Madrid Nation, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.